Welcome back, everyone. This is the continued study of becoming a master oil painter for beginners. And today I wanted to go over some of the tools and equipment, paints, cleaners, stuff we're going to need as you move into becoming a better oil painter, or the things you're going to need to actually begin your oil paintings. All right. First, I prefer to use a small wooden palette, which works great for me. I do fairly big paintings, and I never have a problem at any time working with the palette. It's easy to wipe off. It's wood, and once you wipe it off, it's ready to go again. But they do have some disposable palettes, different things. As I said in my last video, when you go to Hobby Lobby, they'll have an assortment of things that, you can check out, whatever suits you. But like I said, I just prefer a simple wooden palette, and I wipe it off. And for my wiping, which is very important, I just pretty much use paper towels. And I take a paper towel, and whatever excess paint I have on the palette, I'll just scoop off with my knife, put it in a paper towel, and it goes right in the garbage. But I know disposable palettes, you can just crumble them up when you get done and throw them in the trash also. So they're very convenient. But it's something to think about. I think in the last video, I went over the paints. And this setup that I have on the table now that you can see is pretty much my setup for the beginner study. So I'm using these paints that I bought from Hobby Lobby. And they're fairly inexpensive, like I said last time, and really good quality oil paints. They go a long way. They're vibrant, really nice. They mix good. There's nothing wrong with them. And again, if you're going to go to a Hobby Lobby or Michael's or something like that, I haven't been to Michael's in a while, but they do have some higher end paints. They'll have Winsor Newton products. They'll have Grombacher. They'll have, several different types of paints. But if you're going to get into oil painting, I would suggest first just get, the cheaper stuff first, and begin with that. And then as you move forward and you find more paints, different brands of paints that you want to use, then, you'll be able to do that then. But I suggest just starting out with something like this. The palette knives are, fairly cheap. This one right here is probably a little more expensive, but I've had this palette knife for some time. But you can get plastic palette knives, which are cheap, and they work just as good. I've used them. In the years past, I've used plastic palette knives, and I never had a problem. But we're going to go to one of the mediums I use, and I use this right here all the time. But this is Winsor & Newton, so it's a little more pricey. It's a drying medium, and I mix this in with my paints, and believe me, this stuff right here works miracles. So I would suggest the Winsor & Newton for your drying medium to mix in with your paints. After you get a mix, you put it on. It doesn't dry real fast, but it dries enough to where you can, if you do have to go away from your painting, when you come back, you're going to be able to go in, and it's not going to be much of a problem. But it's really good. And this one that I have, it improves the gloss in the painting too. So it actually enhances your cheaper paints when you mix them with the Winsor & Newton medium, the drying agent. So I do clean my brushes, and I use Turpenoid. You know, I'll set them in there for a minute and stir them around. And I just found an old jar. I don't know what it was. It was an old candle jar or something. And I just put that down in there. And I use that to, if I have to switch from brushes, I'll set it in there for a minute, let it, you know, dissolve the paint on the brush a little bit, and then I'll stir it around and then take it out and wipe it with a paper towel. But this brand of Turpenoids, pretty cheap. It's like $10. And it works good, really good. So we have our palette knives and we have our paints. So this setup right here with the paper towels is really all you need to get started. Besides an easel, you can get a smaller easel. You don't have to get a large easel right away. And you need your canvases, whatever size canvas. And I would suggest they have, I don't have any right now to show, but if you know you're very interested in getting into painting with oil, they have some practice canvases that are thin cardboard with canvas wrapped on it, and they're really good. I mean, they're good to practice on. You can, you know, work on those until you feel like you're, you know, good enough, or you're ready to move on to an actual canvas. And canvases vary in size. I like Hobby Lobby. I'm gonna tell you right now. Sometimes you can call them and ask them, "Hey, when are you gonna have a 50% discount on your art products?" And they'll usually tell you. They'll be like, next week, or it's going to be 3 weeks, and or whatever, you know what I mean? But the stuff is that you need to actually get started painting is really so inexpensive that, you know, it's not really a problem. Brushes. Now, I do have a jar of brushes here, and I got a whole bunch of brushes right now, and you don't really need that many, I can tell you that. But I like to have a fairly large brush, because I like to start my paintings with the large brush. Because at first you can cover a lot more ground. You can smooth your first layer of paint down on your canvas real well with a large brush, and you can dab in, you know, your main, just to get some paint on the canvas with a large brush. So I would say, you know, you need a large brush in your brush. And then what I'll do sometimes is I'll switch to a smaller round, and I'll come in and start adding my colors in with a smaller round. But we're talking about impressionism and just, you know, dabbing your colors in on, and we're going to get into painting here in the next video or two. But I just wanted to go over some, you know, things that you'd probably need. This is a round. It's a smaller round brush. I ain't got my glasses on, but this one right here is a 1. It's a number 1, which is a good one to start with. And then what we'll do is we'll go from here. We'll take what we got, the items that we've purchased, and we'll get into some more mixing, and we'll go over some mixing terms, terminology as far as mixing your paints, what it means, and we'll be right back. Okay, guys. I know in the last video I went over some complementary colors, and we talked about the primary colors in the spectrum, and then we went through creating the secondary colors, and then we got into complementaries, and we actually mixed a little bit of complementary paint on the board. But we're going to go over some more technical terminology as far as you know, mixing your paint, and you know, you'll catch on to the terminology and the wording and what it means as we go. But I chose today, last time I did yellow and violet. So, and that's two complementary colors. So this time I'm going to do orange and blue. And years ago when I was studying, ooh, that was a lot of blue. Ooh, that's all right. So years ago when I was studying in art class, I learned the complementary colors, the same thing that I've been teaching now. And boy, I love blue and orange, because blue and orange is just so vibrant, and it's got its own, lighting atmosphere that goes around it, but it's really good complementaries to work with. Okay, so I'm going to slide a little bit of blue out towards the orange and do the same thing, and I'm just going to kind of meet them in the middle, and we're going to see what we get here with this orange that I'm using and the blue. And should get pretty dark. Should get like a, gray, darkish color. And I explained before in the past video that Monet, he was an impressionist artist, and he I read an article, I think one time I had an art book, and I read an article about it, and said that he never used blacks in his paintings. He always created his blacks. So that's looking pretty dark. All right. So now what we're actually doing here is, when you're mixing complementary colors to create a black or dark or gray, whatever you're creating with the colors that you have before you, it's called chromatic black. So this would be a chromatic black. And right now with the orange I'm using, probably need a little bit of red in there. And I'll usually lay out, and let me go ahead and do that. Let me go ahead and lay out the rest of the primary colors. So I'll put red over here somewhere. And you don't need much of your other primaries. And then I'll take a yellow and put over here. So now we have all three of our primary colors. We have red, blue, and yellow. Red, yellow, and blue. I'm going to take a little bit of red and put in this right here. Just to give it a little bit more dark. Darken it up just a little bit more. So, as I was saying, Monet never used black. He always created it. And when you're creating black by mixing complementary colors, it's called chromatic black. Chromatic black. Okay, let me pronounce that right. Chromatic black. And so this right here, when you're going to work on a primarily orange and blue painting, you're going to create your blacks, your chromatic black, by mixing the two. Okay. So, and when you're mixing this, what this is called is simultaneous contrast. So you're taking red and green, yellow or violet, blue or orange, and you're placing them side by side. Okay. And this is creating the simultaneous contrast. And that's what the phenomenon of light that is flashing on these, complementary colors, it's how it catches the eye. And I mean, it's like, you know, bumblebees flying around. When they see a flower, that's one of the reasons why flowers are so bright and vibrant, you know, yellow and red. And the bumblebees are attracted to them to get the nectar. And it's just all a play on light that catches the eye. As I was saying in the other video, I actually did a test where I put them side by side on a white piece of paper to where you could see the phenomenon of light, the way it works around complementary colors. But what we're doing is we're just canceling out the colors in this chromomatic. We're creating the chromomatic black or gray or a darker color by canceling them out one to the other. So let me get a paper towel and I'll go ahead and wipe this off so we don't start contaminating anything. All right. So how I start a painting is I'll usually go out in this direction. And then what I'll do, I'll go out in both directions. You don't necessarily have to do it like this. I mean, this is just so you have a good idea of what we're doing. All right, so your blues from your darks into your blues in this direction is going to be cool. So when you're headed in this direction with your oranges and it's vibrant, bright with the yellows, you're going to be getting warmer. You're going to be getting hotter over here with this right here. And these are going to be hues. So what we'll do is we'll take a little bit of the chromomatic and we'll come over here and we'll just create a, you know, a warmer hue in this direction. So this is going to be warmer than this, and this is going to be your hues as you're working your way out. Now we'll just go from this, because we already have the chromomatic black mixed in here. So we'll take a little bit of that and we'll go over here just a little less, so that way you get an even warmer hue in this direction. So I hope you guys can see that pretty good on the video. But we're gonna just create like a step down, you know, warmer, lighter hue shade. And then we'll go in the other direction. We'll take a decent little bit here of our chromatic black. I don't know why that word, I don't know why I can't seem to pronounce that word, but as we're working in this one, we'll take a little bit of this because it's already saturated a little, and we'll go down here and create a lighter hue as we move towards the cool section of our paint here, and we're laying it out. And you should be able to see that's a little bit lighter. And then we're going to take some lights and just create and what we're going to do here is we're just going to tone these down. We're going to bring them in here and start toning them down. And I did a little bit off video to tone down some of these hues that we had created towards the warm. And now we'll go over here to our cool section and we'll tone some of this stuff down and see what we get out of that. And it's looking good. Alrighty. So remember, guys, it's creating chromatic black with your complementary colors, and we're working with blue and orange today. And let me go out a little bit further. This one right here will probably be just a little bit cooler tone, as you know, as we tone it down with the white. But that's a beautiful color. I mean, you can just see how the colors, they're just complementary from one end to the other. It's amazing just working with this paint, you know, learning how to, you know, mix it, learning your complementary colors, your secondary colors, primaries, you know, starting with your primaries. And with this technique, I mean, you can create some beautiful paintings. And I suggest just start out like this with the items that I showed you that we're working with today. And I showed you some of the brushes. And me personally, once I get finished using my large brush and I start putting paint down, I'll switch to a medium brush or something, maybe a round, you know, a little bit smaller than my large brush. And then I'll start putting some more colors in, as whether I'm working with a photo or whatever you decide to work with. I personally suggest that you work with a decent photo of something that you actually want to paint, you know, that you want to create. Don't try to, you know, freehand a painting right away, because you might find yourself in trouble trying to figure out the colors. And what I'll do, as I'm mixing the colors and I'm looking at my photograph that I'm painting from, I'll take the little bit of paint that I'm mixed up, and what I'll do is I'll set it right next to the place on the photograph and I'll try to match that color as I'm working with the paints. And I'll just keep looking at it, and I'll get closer and closer as you work through your painting. And we're going to do that in further videos. We're going to start putting some paint on the canvas. But today I just wanted to go over some of the tools we're working with. Try to mix up a little bit of paint on the palette to give us an idea of the terminologies that we're working with. The simultaneous contrast, as far as your, you know, complementaries from one end of the spectrum to the other. You can get a color wheel too if you know you desire to have a color wheel. And the color wheel, all you got to do is when you're looking at the color wheel and you're working with it, just look at the opposite paint on the color wheel from what you're looking at, and you're going to see your complementary color. And again, I'll stress this, that complementary colors, when you're keeping them complementary inside your painting, it's going to catch your eye, and it's going to, you're going to like what you see. It's like a guitarist when he's playing the guitar and he hits an off note and you cringe. You're like, well, if you get outside of this spectrum, you're going to cringe. So we need to stay in the rule of complementary as we're working with our colors, so that your eye is just, you know, you're having fun with your painting, and your painting's looking beautiful. So I appreciate y'all for watching. I hope this video is helping you, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.